What are the stages of porn addiction? And why does knowing the stages matter to us if we've already recognized or identified that we're caught up in this behavior? For one, knowing the stages of addiction will give us a glimpse into the past. It will help us understand the roots of our behavior. It will also give us an insight into the future because depending upon where we are in these stages, we may not have reached the rock bottom point. But if we can recognize where our behavior is leading us into the future, we can feel empowered to take the necessary actions, to get back control of our lives, to conquer and transcend this addiction and go on to live the life that we know that we were born and put here to live. So in today's episode of the Rebuilt Man podcast, I'm going to walk you through the 5 stages of pornography addiction, giving you insights into each and every stage, how the stages lead into each other, and what you need to do if you've recognized that you're anywhere in one of these 5 stages. Before we dive too deep into that guys, we quickly take a break and remind you who we are and what we are doing here. My name is Coach Frank Rich, founder of Rebuilt Recovery and host of the Rebuilt Man podcast. It is our mission to help men become better men by quitting porn and rebuilding their lives. And we do that here at the Rebuilt Man with 3 episodes per week. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, turn those post notifications on. Did you know that 62% of those that are watching these videos on YouTube are not subscribed? So if you want to help us and support this, you want to make sure you never miss another episode, hit that subscribe button today, turn those notifications on. And if you're listening on the audio side, guys, we thank you. Thank you so much for your support. In less than 6 months, we have surpassed the monthly downloadership of my other podcast, The Superhuman Life. So I'm incredibly grateful. And it tells me that what we are doing here is working. And it is for a purpose and a cause, guys. And that's leading every single one of you through the pathway to freedom so that you can conquer this addiction, transcend these behaviors, live a life of freedom, live a life of integrity, and ultimately reconnect yourselves with your spouses, with your loved ones, and with the purpose of the life that you're put here to live. The 5 stages of porn addiction. Stage number 1 is exposure. And oftentimes, if it's going to lead into the other stages, this exposure will happen at a very young age. The average age of exposure these days is somewhere between the ages of 8 and 11. And after having thousands of conversations and collecting thousands of data points, the vast majority of the men that we work with and those that we succeed at helping break free were exposed at a young age. Now, knowing you're exposed is important, right? Knowing that what you saw when you were a young kid is leading you through these other stages is important because you may need to spend some time in healing that early age trauma. And also giving yourself some grace that, hey, if you're caught up in this, it may not be 100% your fault. But brother, what I know to be fundamentally true is that it is your responsibility to fix it. Your addiction may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility to fix it. And that's why the first stage of addiction is understanding the points of our exposure. That leads us to the second stage of addiction, and it's the habituation stage, or when these behaviors become a habit in our life. One of the things that we have all of our men do early on in the Reboot Your Life program is do an audit of the last several times that you consumed porn. What were the series of events that led up to it? What were the triggering moments? What were the triggering states? This will begin to identify how this is formed as habits in your life. Were you tired, anxious, stressed? Were you alone, isolated, and feeling like you needed connection? What you've done if you're at this stage of addiction is you have created habits that follow those internal feelings and those emotional states. So you have exposure. Once you're exposed to it, you begin to like the way that it makes you feel. You begin to create habits in your life around when and how you consume it. And that leads us to the third stage, which is addiction. And here we're going to lean into Dr. Anna Lemke's definition of addiction, the continued use of substance or behavior of consuming pornography, despite the negative consequences to self and or others. So has your habit with pornography manifested itself in porn erectile dysfunction? Has your habit with pornography been a thorn in the side with your relationship with your wife? Has it caused intimacy issues? Has it made you feel disconnected in your work? Has it exhausted and taken away your motivation? Those are side effects. Those are negative side effects. And when we continue to return to the behavior that is producing those side effects, that's a clear sign of an addiction, brother. Okay, so the continued use of behavior despite the negative consequences to self and or others. Okay, so once we've recognized that there are some negative effects, this, I believe, is when we must begin to take action. Because if we don't take action in stage 3, it's going to lead us to stage 4, which is escalation. Okay, our porn addiction is going to escalate into other sexual behaviors. Consuming free porn escalates into buying OnlyFans memberships. Buying OnlyFans memberships escalates into attending strip clubs or massage parlors. Attending strip clubs and massage parlors escalates into purchasing of escorts or prostitution. Prostitution and escorts escalates into buying sex from traffickers. Okay, that's an escalation model that we have seen time and time and time again. I've sat across a table with men. I have a friend that runs an organization here that rehabs those that purchase sex, both on the streets and through brothels. And I've been able to sit across the table from a handful of these men and ask them, what happened in your life? How did you end up here? And every single one of them says it started at an early age exposure to pornography. So they went through the stages of exposure, early exposure to habituation, to addiction. Now they're at the point of escalation where it is escalated to behaviors that are beyond just sitting in front of a screen and consuming pornography. And each one of those men will tell you that they are already at stage 5. And stage 5 is destruction. Destruction of the life that is resting in front of us. Destruction of our relationships. The destruction of our moral code at which we make decisions. Destructions of our soul. Destructions of our being. Destructions of everything that we thought we were put on this earth to accomplish. Because once you've been labeled a sex offender, brother, that goes with you everywhere you go for the rest of your life. It impacts where you can live. It impacts where you can work. It impacts where you can serve. Destruction. Now that may be the highest form of destruction, but when your life presents you with divorce papers, that's the destruction of a marriage. When you got caught at work consuming pornography for the 5th time and you're handed a pink slip, that's the destruction of a career. When you choose porn over the networking party, that's the destruction of your social life. Destruction. Exposure leads to habituation, which leads to addiction, which leads to escalation. And if you don't get control of it, it will control you and it will reach stage 5 of ultimate and utter destruction. Now, if you're somewhere in stages 2, 3, 4 at this point and you've recognized, hey, I'm ready to take action. I'm ready to take action on ending this addiction once and for all. Some of you may have been on my email newsletter earlier this week. I made an announcement on the email. I'm only going to share this one time on this podcast. I know this podcast will run forever. So if you hear this somewhere later on down the road, I will honor that. But what I'm going to do, as we've celebrated an incredible month of June here at Rebuilt Recovery, we've recognized and raised awareness around men's mental health. We celebrated the fathers within our community. We had a handful of men graduate and move on from our 12-week program. We had many men begin their journey to freedom. It's been an incredible month for us. And I've never in my lifetime offered a money-back guarantee on our coaching. But we have a high-ticket program that works exclusively with high-achieving men, business owners, entrepreneurs, and guys that are out there crushing the world, but are stuck in this life. If that's you, and you've been on the fence about joining our program, I'm going to put a link down there in our application. Somewhere on your application, let me know that you heard this episode. Just mention it to me. I'll remember. But after 12 weeks, if you aren't happy, if you aren't satisfied, if you are not free of your pornography addiction, you will not pay a dime. Now, there is an investment. There's an investment in you getting control of your life and becoming the man that you were put here to be. But if I can't fulfill on my side of this agreement, if I can't walk you through the journey and set you on to freedom by your own, I shouldn't be compensated for my work. So I'm willing to do this to celebrate the month of June, to celebrate taking this podcast in the span of 7 months and blowing past a 5-year podcast. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that it would have been possible for us to do what we've done in just a short window of time here. So I'm giving it back, guys. I'm putting literally my mouth where your money is. You enroll in our one-on-one exclusive high-ticket coaching program, okay? This is not a few $100s. This has a 4-figure cost to it, okay? This is a few $1,000s up front. I will tell you that there is going to be an investment in the program. But if we don't succeed together, meaning there is work that you must do, but if I don't lead you to freedom, you don't pay a dime. Click the link down there, fill out the application, guys. If you're stuck in one of these stages and you're ready to do what it takes to get out of it, I'd love to be the one to help you. Coach Frank, the Rebuilt Man. We love you guys. See you in the next one.